The scars you can't see. Boston in the fall had a nostalgic beauty, as if the city were made for people who hadn't healed yet. Claire Bennett, 29, knew that better than anyone. An ER nurse, she spent her days taking care of strangers while avoiding feeling anything for anyone. She had learned that love was fragile, and losing it hurt more than any physical wound. Her routine was precise. Work, home, insomnia, repeat. Until one night, a man walked into the emergency room with a broken wrist and eyes full of shadows. "Name?" Claire asked as she examined his arm. "Gavin Hale," he replied quietly, like he was speaking from somewhere far away. It wasn't his first fracture, and it wouldn't be the last. But something in his eyes caught Claire's attention. It wasn't just physical pain. It was the same kind of pain she carried inside, only hidden behind a polite smile. "And how did you break your wrist, Gavin?" "By falling, trying not to be alone at home." The sentence hung in the air, heavy, as if they both knew they were talking about much more than a fall. Gavin Hale, 36, was an architect who had designed some of the most modern buildings in downtown Boston. But now he lived in a cold apartment, separated from his wife for over a year, and only saw his daughter, Emily, 2 weekends a month. His world of steel and concrete had quietly crumbled. After that night, he kept coming back for checkups. Not that he needed them, Claire knew it. Gavin was finding excuses to see her, and she, though she wouldn't admit it, let him. "Does it hurt much?" she asked one afternoon as she removed the splint. "Only when I don't see you," he said without hesitation. Claire froze. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Not since the accident that took her younger brother. Not since she decided she would never fall in love again. But Gavin didn't push. He knew how to wait, how to read the silences. One rainy afternoon, Gavin left a folded note inside a box of tea. "Eating dinner alone is sadder when you know you don't have to be. Want to join me?" Claire didn't answer right away. But that night, she went. They dined at a tiny Italian restaurant tucked between brick alleyways. Claire spoke little, but laughed more than she had in years. Gavin, on the other hand, watched her like seeing her breathe was enough. That night, they didn't kiss, but they walked in the rain together. And that was the first time Claire thought she might deserve to feel something again. Their meetings became frequent. Morning coffees, texts between shifts, late-night calls. Gavin didn't talk much about his ex-wife, but he did about his daughter. Claire avoided speaking of her family altogether, until he asked, "Why do you live like you've already lost everything?" Claire stood still. Then she told him what no one else knew, that her brother died in a car crash the day she chose not to go with him. That guilt followed her every day. That love scared her because if she loved again, she might lose again. Gavin hugged her. He said nothing. He just held her. One day, Gavin invited her to meet Emily. It was the sweetest and most vulnerable moment of their relationship. Emily was 8 and loved to draw. Claire brought her colored pencils, and the girl accepted her like she'd always been part of their world. After that, Claire began to imagine a different life. Brighter, filled with laughter and Sunday mornings. With Gavin? But the past, like poorly healed wounds, always finds its way back. One morning, Gavin showed up at the hospital pale and tense. He had received a call. His ex-wife Meredith wanted to move to Chicago with Emily, a new partner, a new job. And she had full custody. "I'm going to fight for my daughter," he said, broken. "But if I lose, I don't know what I'll do." Claire supported him. She went to hearings, sat through sleepless nights filled with lawyers and documents, but Meredith played dirty. She used Claire's visits, the hospital records, and Gavin's emotional instability against him. The judge was harsh. Emily would move to Chicago. Gavin collapsed. For weeks, Claire didn't know how to help him. Gavin shut down, canceled dates, ignored calls. One night, he simply disappeared. Claire went to his apartment and found the lights off. She called, knocked, shouted his name. Nothing. When he finally opened the door, he was drunk, broken, empty. "Why keep going?" he muttered. "I lost my daughter, and I can't give you what you deserve." "I don't want what I deserve," Claire shouted through tears. "I want you with your scars and fears." He looked at her with an unbearable sadness. "But I don't love myself, Claire." She left that night. Not because she didn't love him, but because she understood he needed to heal on his own. 3 months passed without seeing him. Claire returned to her routine, but she wasn't the same. She had loved, she had lost, and still, she had no regrets. One day, she received a letter. I failed you. I didn't know how to love you while I was falling apart, but I started therapy. I'm rebuilding my relationship with Emily. I'm learning to forgive myself. Because I want to find you again, not as a broken man, but as someone who wants to live with you, not despite the pain, but because of everything we've overcome. Claire went to the park they used to walk in. There he was, with a trembling smile and wet eyes. Too late for a new beginning? He asked. Claire walked toward him, hugged him tight. No, right on time. The end.